Fame and fortune might buy you mansions, but they cannot buy a get-out-of-jail-free card when the charges are truly heinous. We have seen massive stars commit atrocities so severe ranging from major narcotics trafficking and predatory sex crimes to cold-blooded murder that they are now trading red carpets for iron bars. Today, we are exposing 25 performers currently locked away. Topping our list is a sitcom favorite whose dark secrets finally caught up with him, Danny Masterson. You likely remember Masterson as the conspiracy-loving Stephen Hyde from the hit sitcom That 70s Show. He maintained his stardom on Men at Work, and even reunited with his former castmate Ashton Kutcher on The Ranch. However, his career came to a screeching halt in 2017 when the Los Angeles Police Department blew the lid off a disturbing pattern, launching a sexual assault probe after 3 women came forward with accusations of misconduct. These harrowing events allegedly took place at his Hollywood Hills residence between 2001 and 2003. According to the survivors, Masterson would spike their drinks with alcohol, and when they became incapacitated and disoriented, he would violently rape them in his bedroom. Despite Masterson's vehement denials of these sick acts, the law eventually stepped in, and he was formally charged with 3 counts of forcible rape. While his initial trial ended in a frustrating deadlock with a hung jury, the retrial brought justice, leading to Masterson's conviction on 2 of the 3 counts. The judge handed down a crushing sentence of 30 years to life, meaning he will not see a parole board until he has served at least 25 and a half years. He is currently inmate number 1 at the California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo, a facility located roughly halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles. The case took an even darker, more conspiratorial turn, involving the controversial Church of Scientology, an organization that Masterson and all 3 of his accusers belonged to at the time. The victims claimed the organization went to great lengths to shield their golden boy and actively discouraged them from contacting the police. One survivor recounted a chilling experience where she reported the assault to officials at the church's celebrity center in Hollywood, only to be ordered never to utter the word rape. She was threatened that involving law enforcement would lead to her being labeled a suppressive person, resulting in total excommunication and separation from her Scientologist family. In response to these bombshell claims, the Church of Scientology categorically denied the allegations, insisting that they have 0 policies that prevent members from reporting criminal activity to the proper authorities. The organization emphasized that their official doctrine requires strict adherence to all land laws, dismissing the victims' stories as complete fabrications. Next at number 2 is Ryan Grantham, known for playing Rodney James in the 2010 flick Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Grantham also landed roles in the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus and appeared in an episode of the hit CW show Riverdale. With over 30 professional acting credits across both film and television, he seemed poised for a long career. However, a heartbreaking and terrifying turn of events unfolded when at just 21 years old, Grantham executed his own mother by shooting her in the back of the head while she played the piano in their British Columbia home. The aftermath was equally disturbing. He packed his vehicle with an arsenal of weapons and ammunition, plotting to assassinate Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Fortunately, he abandoned that plan, though he briefly considered committing a massacre at his former school, Simon Fraser University. Ultimately, his conscience kicked in, and he drove to a police station to surrender to authorities. During the legal proceedings, Grantham's defense team revealed that 2 court-appointed psychiatrists had evaluated him, determining that he was battling severe major depressive disorder and a cannabis use disorder, among other mental health struggles. At the time of the horrific slaying, Grantham pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, and during his sentencing hearing, he expressed deep remorse and a dedication to rehabilitation and helping others inside. He is currently serving a life sentence and will not be eligible to apply for parole until 2036 after completing 14 years. It is truly tragic to see a once promising child star go down such a violent path. Number 3 on our countdown is Jamie Waylett, a British former actor whose face you will definitely recognize. His only major film role was playing the bully Vincent Crabbe in 6 of the 8 Harry Potter blockbusters. On April 7, 2009, police pulled over a car carrying Waylett and a friend, leading to the discovery of a knife and 8 bags of marijuana. A camera found in their possession contained incriminating photos that directed officers to Waylit's mother's house, where they found a mini farm of cannabis plants being cultivated. A month later, the young wizard was charged with illegal drug possession. Appearing in court on July 16th, Waylit admitted to growing the weed, though he claimed the supply was strictly for his own personal use. 5 days later, on July 21st, the judge handed him a sentence of 120 hours of community service. Notably, this wasn't his first brush with trouble, as he had faced allegations of cocaine use back in October 2006. But on October 14, 2011, Waylit found himself in much deeper water, arrested for his participation in the infamous London riots that August. The Metropolitan Police accused the actor of violent disorder, possessing an article with intent to destroy property, and handling stolen goods. The most shocking detail was that he was captured on CCTV wielding a Molotov cocktail while looting a drugstore in Chalk Farm, London. When police raided his home this time, they discovered 15 more cannabis plants, slapping him with yet another charge. On March 20th, 2012, Waylit was sentenced to 2 years in prison for his role in the chaos. Coming in at number 4 is the disgraced titan of Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein. As the powerful co-founder of Miramax, Weinstein defined 90s cinema by producing critically acclaimed masterpieces. Like Pulp Fiction and Good Will Hunting, he even snagged an Academy Award for producing Shakespeare in Love. However, his once legendary reputation was obliterated by hideous allegations. After years of whispers in the industry, the New York Times broke the story. If you want to uncover more dark secrets of the rich and famous, make sure to subscribe to Legacy Unmasked for more shocking stories. Broke the internet with an explosive expose, where more than a dozen women bravely stepped forward to accuse Weinstein of systemic sexual harassment and abuse. And the scandal only deepened when the New Yorker released a follow-up piece, unearthing even more dark secrets, prompting nearly 100 women, many being household names, to publicize their own harrowing encounters with Weinstein's predatory behavior. Back in 2018, the Manhattan District Attorney's office officially brought the hammer down, charging the mogul with rape, criminal sexual acts, and predatory sexual assault involving 2 specific victims. Completely shattering his defense, famous actress Annabella Sciorra took the stand, delivering a chilling testimony about how Weinstein forced his way into her home and raped her. Following a dinner party, eventually the disgraced titan was convicted and handed a 23-year sentence to be served in Los Angeles. But his legal nightmare was far from over, as he faced a fresh set of allegations, resulting in an additional 16-year prison term to run consecutively. Meanwhile, British authorities have also greenlit charges against him regarding indecent assault incidents that allegedly took place in London. As of now, Weinstein is rotting away at the Mohawk Correctional Facility in New York, situated roughly 100 miles north of Albany. At number 5, we have Jussie Smollett, an American entertainer who first found the spotlight as a child star back in 1991, making waves in The Mighty Ducks in 1992. Later, from 2015 to 2019, he starred as Jamal Lyon in the hit Fox drama Empire. However, in January 2019, Smollett claimed he was the victim of a brutal hate crime. Yet police investigations uncovered a bizarre twist, determining that the actor had actually staged the entire attack himself with the help of 2 acquaintances. Initially, he was slapped with filing a false police report. But those charges were controversially dropped after Smollett finished community service and forfeited his $10,000 bond. Later, he was sentenced to 150 days in jail, 6 of which he actually served before being released. While his legal team fought the verdict, he was also ordered to pay roughly $130,000 in restitution back in 2020. A special prosecutor decided to re-indict him, leading to a conviction on 5 separate counts in December 2021. He was sentenced to jail time in March 2022. A ruling upheld on appeal in 2023, but in a stunning turn of events, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned the conviction in 2024. Webb emphasized that despite the criminal reversal, Chicago officials can still hunt him down in civil court, seeking to recover the $130,000, which represents the massive overtime costs police incurred investigating Smollett's fabricated story. Moving on to number 6 is Michael Jace, widely recognized for his intense portrayal of Officer Julian Lowe on the gritty police drama The Shield. Jace also secured roles in legendary blockbusters like Forrest Gump and Boogie Nights, but real life turned darker than fiction at Jace's home in the Hyde Park neighborhood of Los Angeles in a truly horrific incident witnessed by his two young sons, aged 5 and 8. Jace gunned down his wife April, a talented and decorated sprinter, shooting her in the back before delivering a final shot to her legs, reportedly taunting her with the chilling words, "If you like running, then run to heaven," prosecutors revealed. Throughout the trial, the Jace, who had been consuming heavy amounts of alcohol, was fueled by an irrational, jealous rage, and completely unfounded. Paranoia regarding infidelity, the jury ultimately found him guilty of second-degree murder, handing down a sentence of 40 years to life. Behind bars during his sentencing hearing, Jace offered a somber apology, stating, "There is absolutely no justification for my actions on that night. I am profoundly sorry for the pain that I have caused everyone today." Jace is serving his lengthy term at the California State Prison in Corcoran. This entire saga is deeply disturbing, particularly when considering the permanent psychological scars left on his children, who watched their father become a monster. Number 7 brings us to Jen Shah, who skyrocketed to reality TV stardom on Bravo's The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, lasting 3 seasons, famous for her sharp tongue and over-the-top dramatic flair. She definitely left a mark on the audience. But by March 2021, Shah found herself in serious legal hot water, facing charges for conspiracy to commit money laundering and wire fraud. Alongside her assistant, authorities accused her of running a massive telemarketing scheme that preyed specifically on vulnerable elderly people, draining their life savings in exchange for bogus services like website building and business coaching that offered zero actual value to the buyer's ABCs. Nightline exposed the gut-wrenching reality of her victims, including Trisha, a 75-year-old retiree who lost over $47,000 chasing a dream, and Ralph Huck, a World War II veteran who was swindled out of more than $100,000. In a devastating turn, another victim named Alec took his own life at the age of 92, with his family citing the financial ruin from the scam as a major contributing factor. Federal prosecutors unveiled texts showing Shah frequently ridiculed her victims' suffering and strategized with her partners on how to manipulate these seniors into draining their bank accounts even further. Although she boldly claimed her innocence for months, Shah eventually cracked and pleaded guilty to wire fraud, receiving a sentence of 6.5 years in federal prison currently. She is locked up at the Bryan Federal Prison Camp in Texas, with a potential release date slated for August 2028. The collapse of this glitzy reality star serves as a stark warning about the devastating impact of greed and fraud. Just when you think these celebrity scandals couldn't get any bleaker, here is another example of a public figure who thought fame made them untouchable. Make sure to subscribe to Legacy Unmasked for more. 8. Jared Fogle. Fogle became a household name across America in 1999 when, as a college student at Indiana University, he shed a massive 245 pounds by strictly sticking to a diet of Subway sandwiches. His miraculous transformation turned him into the face of the brand, appearing in more than 300 commercials for the fast food giant until his world crumbled in 2015. However, the squeaky clean image he cultivated completely crumbled when the FBI, joined by Indiana State Police, executed a massive raid on his private residence. Law enforcement stripped the house of electronics, seizing computers and DVD players. This domino effect actually started with the capture of Russell Taylor, the executive director of the Jared Foundation, a charity originally built to fight childhood obesity. Authorities uncovered that Taylor was actively trading horrific, explicit videos featuring victims as young as 6. As the investigative spotlight turned toward Fogle, agents found stomach-churning text messages dating back to 2014. He discussed unthinkable acts with children as young as 9 and was actively looking for assistance to prey on a 16-year-old cousin. On top of that, he admitted to taking a trip to New York, specifically to engage with a 17-year-old. He even went so far as to pay extra to adult workers if they could procure minors for him. Facing a staggering 50-year maximum sentence, Fogle took a plea deal admitting guilt to distributing illegal materials and crossing state lines for illicit sexual activity with a minor. He is currently serving a sentence of 15 years and 8 months at the Federal Correctional Institution, Englewood. His calendar is marked for March 24th, 2029 for potential release. Moving on, we have Julie and Todd Chrisley. These reality TV titans gained fame and fortune, but exploded into the spotlight with their hit reality series Chrisley Knows Best, which first aired in 2014, showing off their seemingly endless riches and that famous tough love, no nonsense parenting style. However, everything fell apart in August 2019 when their perfect world slammed into major legal trouble. The Chrisleys were hit with heavy charges for tax evasion, bank fraud, and wire fraud. Authorities claimed they were dodging nearly $2 million in state taxes, hiding over $1 million of reality TV cash from the IRS, and forging financial paperwork. Even though they stood their ground and pled not guilty, the couple eventually had to face a jury. Prosecutors rolled out evidence proving the Chrisleys had pumped up their net worth to banks, submitted fake files, and took out loans totaling over $30 million to bankroll their over-the-top lifestyle, all while hiding their actual money from the government following an intense 3-week trial. They were found guilty of conspiracy to commit bank fraud, conspiracy to defraud the United States, and tax fraud, plus Julie was nailed for wire fraud. Todd was handed a 12-year prison sentence, while Julie got slapped with a 7-year term. Todd is currently doing his time at the Federal Correctional Institution in Pensacola, Florida, and Julie is serving her sentence at the Federal Correctional Institution in Marianna, Florida. Stay tuned to Legacy Unmasked for the next shocker at number 10, Jerry. Landing at number 10 is Jerry Harris, who rocketed to viral stardom thanks to his featured role in the Emmy Award-winning Netflix documentary series. The show cheer-tracked the intense lives of the Navarro College Bulldogs squad from Corsicana, Texas, where his electric personality captivated global audiences and caught the eye of Ellen DeGeneres, leading her to hire him as a special correspondent for her show's coverage at the 2020 Academy Awards. However, his public image shattered in September 2020 when federal agents issued a warrant accusing him of soliciting explicit materials from 13-year-old twin brothers while he was 19. Most disturbing of all reports suggest one boy had agreed to the request. During the explosive second season of Cheer, a survivor courageously detailed how the grooming nightmare began, recalling, "I explicitly told him that I was only 13 years old, yet the warning was ignored." Almost immediately, the conversation took a dark turn as he demanded illicit photos of the boy's backside. Harris faced instant and severe repercussions for his actions. He was swiftly stripped of his fame. Law enforcement brought the hammer down, arresting Harris and formally charging him with the creation of horrific illicit material involving minors. Authorities dropped a massive bombshell when they revealed that Harris had actually confessed to these disturbing acts. He admitted to swapping graphic content with anywhere from 10 to 15 underage victims. The court documents reveal a long history, indicating that even back when he was 19, he was already engaging in predatory physical conduct, illicit encounters involving a 15-year-old minor. Later in 2018, Harris stood in court and pleaded guilty to serious indictments concerning the possession of illegal exploitative images of children, and he was convicted for crossing state lines to engage in illicit behavior with underage victims, a serious offense that resulted in a 12-year prison term to be served in a federal penitentiary. Federal transfer facility in Oklahoma City. Coming in at number 11 is Darren Sharper. Now a 47-year-old former NFL safety, Sharper spent his 14-year career defending the field for major franchises like the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings, and the New Orleans Saints. He was a celebrated athlete, earning spots as a 2-time All-Pro and a 5-time Pro Bowler. He was even a key player on the Saints squad that lifted the Lombardi Trophy, uplifting a region still reeling from the devastation of Hurricane Katrina. However, the applause died out in 2014 when his life spiraled into a disturbing scandal. 2 women stepped forward accusing him of incapacitating them with drugs and sexually assaulting them. The harrowing incidents reportedly occurred in West Hollywood and Las Vegas on consecutive evenings. Civil lawsuits followed in 2015, though the financial settlements were kept strictly confidential. By 2016, Sharper was staring down heavy criminal charges. He ultimately pleaded guilty or no contest to drugging and raping up to 16 distinct victims across 4 separate states, including California and Nevada. The court showed little leniency, sentencing him to 18 years in federal prison. Number 12 introduces Gary Glitter, known globally for his stadium anthems Rock and Roll. Parts 1 and 2, this musician has faced deeply serious accusations, particularly centering on the sexual abuse of minors. His history with the law has been a turbulent cycle of trials and incarceration. Back in 2015, Glitter was handed a 16-year sentence in a British jail, yet he only served half of that term before. He finally regained his liberty in February 2023, but unfortunately that freedom was incredibly short-lived. It wasn't long before he found himself back in the system after failing to adhere to the strict terms of his parole, and found himself thrown straight back behind bars. It is widely expected that Glitter will remain incarcerated until at least 2031, serving out the entirety of his term. The relentless updates on his legal battles keep the world watching, leaving the public, wondering if this disgraced musician will ever see freedom again. Number 13, Shannon Richardson. Next on our roster of shame is Shannon Richardson, an actress who took her craft too far, seemingly acting out a plot from Breaking Bad in reality. While she never reached A-list status, Richardson landed minor gigs in massive hits like The Walking Dead and The Vampire Diaries. However, she traded Hollywood fame for criminal infamy in 2013 when she mailed ricin-laced letters to powerful leaders, including the former Commander-in-Chief Barack Obama. These envelopes contained ricin, the very same lethal toxin popularized by the show Breaking Bad. The toxic mail was targeted at President Obama and New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. At the time, Richardson was in the middle of a messy divorce and attempted to frame her estranged husband Nathan by planting evidence to make him look like the bioterrorist. But a federal investigation unraveled her lies, exposing her as the true culprit. She was convicted and handed an 18-year stretch in federal prison. Number 14, John War Machine. Copenhaver. Moving to number 14, we have the volatile MMA fighter known as War Machine. Born John Copenhaver, he rose to prominence during the mixed martial arts explosion of the 2000s. His professional fighting era, running from 2004 to 2013, saw him rack up 14 wins against 5 losses, with 8 of those victories secured by brutal knockouts. War Machine stepped into the cage. 4 top-tier organizations like Extreme Fighting Championships, Bellator MMA, and the UFC, and he even was a cast member on the UFC's hit reality series The Ultimate Fighter. But his violence didn't stay in the ring. Less than a year after retiring, War Machine was the perpetrator of a nightmarish crime. In 2014, he broke into the Las Vegas residence of his ex-girlfriend, where he committed a horrific assault, kidnapping, and sexually violating her. He also savagely beat a male friend of the victim who happened to be at the scene. When the gavel finally fell, War Machine faced 31 felony counts. The jury found him guilty on 29 charges, including attempted murder, and he was sentenced to life behind bars. He will not be eligible for a parole hearing until the year 2053. That is right, 2053. Number 15. Chris Wu. Coming in at number 15 is Chris Wu. Hailing from Canada, Wu used his massive K-pop stardom to launch a lucrative career in the Western entertainment world. He initially gained fame as a rapper and vocalist for the legendary South Korean boy band EXO. Wu-born Wu Yifan later pivoted to a solo music career and broke into the film industry in the mid-2010s. He was a leading man in Chinese mega hits like The Mermaid and Journey to the West, The Demons Strike Back, and even crossed over into big-budget Hollywood action flicks like XXX, Return of Xander Cage, and Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. But his empire crumbled in July 2021 when a young woman reported him to Beijing police, alleging that Wu coerced her into sexual acts in 2020, back when she was only 17 years old. The investigation revealed Wu invited her over under the false pretense of an audition for a music video, allegedly plying her with alcohol to lower her defenses before assaulting her. Once this story broke, the floodgates opened. 2 other women stepped forward with matching stories, and numerous other accounts surfaced regarding Wu's predatory behavior online toward minors. The consequences were swift and severe. He was arrested, processed, and found guilty by the Chaoyang District Court in November 2022, receiving a 13-year prison sentence for his crimes, effectively ending his career. Number 16, William Hayden. Next up is the disgraced reality personality Will Hayden. Once the face of Sons of Guns on the Discovery Channel, Hayden was convicted by a unanimous jury for the rape of 2 preteen girls, with the crimes occurring more than 20 years apart. According to The Advocate, his show Sons of Guns premiered in 2011 and centered around Hayden's family-run custom weaponry shop in Louisiana. The episodes usually showcased Hayden and his eldest daughter Stephanie helping clients select firearms, including assault rifles, while highlighting the gunsmithing trade shooting range action and ammunition. Advice: the network immediately canceled the series after Hayden's arrest. It was once a ratings juggernaut, but the show's legacy was destroyed the moment he was handcuffed on aggravated rape charges involving a minor. The East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Department revealed that this wasn't his first run-in with the law. He was already facing charges for molestation and crimes against nature from an earlier incident. The victims, a 15-year-old girl and a 37-year-old woman, shared an emotional embrace in Judge Mike Irwin's courtroom as the guilty verdicts were read aloud. The jury found Hayden guilty on 2 counts of aggravated rape and 1 count of forcible rape. The 51-year-old predator was handed a mandatory life sentence for the aggravated rape conviction, ensuring he never walks free again. Number 17, Skylar DeLeon. Landing at number 17 is Skylar DeLeon, recognized for a brief stint in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. DeLeon's journey took a dark and twisted turn, spiraling into a conviction for a brutal robbery and murder. That took place on a yacht in 2004. Born John Julius Jacobson Jr. on August 12, 1979 in California, he legally changed his name twice, claiming he wanted to escape the shadow of his abusive father. He eventually sought Hollywood stardom under the alias Skylar DeLeon, managing a small role in the famous for his brief stint as an extra on the Power Rangers. Skylar DeLeon seemed destined for the spotlight, but his script took a horrific twist when he was dishonorably discharged from the United States Navy at just 20 years old for going AWOL. By the time he turned 22, DeLeon was struggling to support a wife and 2 kids, drowning in debt, and desperate for quick cash. That desperation spiraled into a nightmare as he and his spouse turned to robbery, a path that would eventually escalate to the cold-blooded murder of a retired couple attempting to sell their luxury yacht. Under the guise of a test drive, DeLeon and his crew overpowered the owners, forcing them to sign over the vessel before mercilessly throwing them overboard, never to be seen again. It took years for the truth to surface, but a confession from a traitorous accomplice finally brought the law down on DeLeon, ending with a judge handing him a death sentence for his heinous acts. Number 18 brings us to the shocking fall of Colin Walker. A 27-year-old rapper and actor known for his role in the Superfly remake, Walker saw his Hollywood dreams shatter when he was slapped with a sentence of 50 years to life behind bars. The charges were sickening, involving a spree of sexual violence committed against 4 women and 3 teenage girls. Convicted on multiple counts, including forcible rape, he was branded a dangerous predator by Los Angeles Deputy District Attorney Cynthia Wallace, who painted a chilling picture of his manipulative tactics. Although he managed to dodge a few of the charges, the court ordered Walker to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life, a label he is currently fighting as he plans to appeal the verdict. His method of operation was sinister. He prowled social media platforms to target aspiring models, grooming them with promises of fame to gain their trust before striking. One of the brave survivors, Sydney Stanford, came forward with public backing from singer Kalani, using her voice to demand accountability and justice for the victims. While Walker's defense attorney tried to spin a narrative that the allegations were merely a conspiracy driven by a thirst for revenge, the jury wasn't buying it, especially since none of the women had any connection to one another prior to revealing their trauma. Number 19. Drew Drexel. Once celebrated as the real-life ninja, this American Ninja Warrior champion saw his legacy crumble into dust. Drexel has officially agreed to plead guilty to severe felony charges, a move that erased him from Season 12 of the hit NBC competition. The athletic star went from scaling walls to facing a potential life sentence after disturbing sex offense allegations came to light. The case stems from a predatory incident where he reportedly groomed a young admirer he met at an event, eventually luring her back to his gym for illicit encounters. At the time of the abuse, the victim was only 15 years old, while Drexel was a 26-year-old adult. Currently, the disgraced athlete is being held at the Federal Detention Center in Philadelphia. The situation exploded in 2020, following an intense FBI probe leading the United States Attorney's Office to charge him with The federal indictment paints a harrowing picture, accusing him of producing abusive material involving minors, coercing a young person to cross state lines for prohibited relations, and manipulating interstate channels to trap his victim. In a shocking twist, Drew confessed to the physical acts, though he attempted to claim he was completely oblivious to her being underage. His plea deal covers these heavy allegations of creating exploitation material and engaging in criminal conduct. The severity of that first charge alone mandates a non-negotiable minimum, a sentence ranging from 5 years up to a staggering maximum of 40 years behind bars, plus a potential financial penalty of $250,000. The second count, involving the sickening act of enticing a minor for illicit sexual activity, carries its own maximum term of 20 years in federal custody and another fine of $250,000. Moving to number 20, we have Zachary Horwitz. You might know this actor by his stage name Zach Avery, whose true identity is Zachary Horwitz. He was handed a stiff sentence of 20 years in federal prison for orchestrating a massive Ponzi scheme valued at $650 million. He spun a web of lies, falsely promising investors that their cash was being used to acquire lucrative licensing rights for films that giants like HBO and Netflix were distributing abroad. On top of his lengthy prison term, the United States Attorney's Office laid down the law, ordering him to pay a colossal $230 million in restitution to those he swindled. Horwitz played the part of a high-rolling Hollywood insider, leveraging his company's fabricated connections with major streaming platforms to hook unsuspecting victims. However, the curtain eventually fell, and they realized that he was never a successful mogul, but merely playing a character. His actual film credits include forgettable titles like The Devil Below, You're Not Alone, and Curvature. The FBI exposed that his entire operation relied on a bogus investor report from 2015, which listed 52 movies allegedly distributed across various global regions. Horwitz was accused of siphoning off a fortune for his own lavish lifestyle. He defrauded over 250 people through his firm 1MM Capital, running the charade from 2014 until his arrest in April 2021. Number 21, Joe Exotic. Coming in at number 21 on our countdown is the man, the myth, the meme, the infamous Tiger King Joe Exotic. Born Joseph Allen Maldonado Passage, but known to the world simply as Joe Exotic, he is a convicted American felon and former zoo operator hailing from Garden City, Kansas. Joe Exotic was the eccentric owner and ringmaster of the Greater Wynwood Exotic Animal Park in Oklahoma, where he built a reputation as a prolific tiger breeder. He also had grand ambitions outside the cage, making 2 failed attempts to enter politics, running for President of the United States in 2016 as an independent candidate and later gunning for governor of Oklahoma in 2018 on the Libertarian ticket. In 2019, his world collapsed when Joe Exotic was convicted on 17 federal charges of animal abuse and 2 serious counts of murder for hire. The latter involved a twisted plot to assassinate Carol Baskin, the CEO of Big Cat Rescue. The judge handed him a sentence of 22 years in federal prison, although in July 2021, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit determined that his initial punishment was too harsh. Joe Exotic's chaotic story exploded into pop culture with the 2020 Netflix docuseries Tiger King Murder, Mayhem, and Madness, which chronicled his bizarre zoo operations and his bitter feud with Baskin. While locked up, the drama continued. Joe Exotic was initially thrown into quarantine within a secure housing unit after reportedly having contact with. After testing positive for the virus that shut down the globe, the Tiger King found himself swamped with fan mail before being transferred. He was moved to a medical cell equipped with actual windows and a hospital bed. As of July 2021, Joe Exotic is still locked up deep in the heart of Texas. Number 22 brings us to Toby Willis. This next story is especially disturbing because it shattered the image of a wholesome American household. The father figure of the famous Willis clan was found guilty of heinous crimes back in 2016. At 48 years old, he had ridden the wave of national stardom, charming audiences on America's Got Talent and starring in the family's own TLC reality series, The Willis Family. But the cameras stopped rolling when a nightmare reality emerged. His life spiraled into darkness when he became the central figure of a depraved investigation concerning abuse involving his own flesh and blood. The network pulled the plug on their show just months before handcuffs were slapped on his wrists. Willis eventually admitted guilt to 4 counts of assaulting a minor, landing a 40-year prison term. Court clerk Julie Hibbs verified the complex ruling, which involved concurrent sentences totaling hundreds of years on paper, specifically 225 and 242 years. His capture came after Tennessee authorities dug into a cold case involving a young victim from a dozen years prior, back when she was just a child between 9 and 12. When the law finally caught up to him, he was on the run. He was tracked down in Greenville, Kentucky, trying to disappear by hitchhiking down the highway to evade justice. Now, let's move to number 23, Zara Fithian. Known for sharing the screen with Benedict Cumberbatch in Doctor Strange, this actress traded the red carpet for a criminal record. She was convicted alongside her husband, Victor Mark, for the grooming and abuse of The law finally caught up with the suspect following a rigorous probe by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation regarding the assault of a minor, a cold case from 12 years prior, when the victim was merely between 9 and 12 years of age. Authorities tracked him down in Greenville, Kentucky, just as he was attempting to flee justice by hitchhiking. Moving to story number 23, we expose the shocking fall of Zara Fithian, known for her role in Doctor Strange opposite Benedict Cumberbatch. The actress has been convicted of the grooming and abuse of a 13-year-old girl alongside her husband, Victor Mark. The investigation showed Mark also separately targeted a 15-year-old victim. During intense proceedings at Nottingham Crown Court, the 37-year-old Fithian received a heavy 8-year prison term, while her 59-year-old spouse was handed a stiffer punishment of 14 years. Court documents revealed that Fithian first met Mark back when he served as her martial arts instructor long before she built a high-flying career in stunt performance and acting. Mark, who resided on Mavis Avenue in Ravenshead, Nottinghamshire, faced 4 specific counts of indecent assault against a child stemming from incidents involving the ages of 22 and 23. As a pair, the couple was indicted on 14 separate counts of illicit conduct with a child spanning from 2005 through 2008. Despite both defendants vehemently denying the allegations, a jury found them guilty and they were sentenced on Monday, with Mark receiving 4 term to address the independent acts of cruelty, adding another 10 years for the collaborative offenses committed alongside Fithian, who stood trial using her married identity, Vivian Mark. As for Zara Mark, she was ordered to serve 8 years for her role in the shared abuse. The courtroom atmosphere grew heavy during the reading of the victim impact. During the emotional sentencing, the second survivor turned to the first woman, offering heartfelt thanks for her bravery in breaking the silence and reporting the abuse to the authorities. Reflecting on her past, she described her younger self as a socially awkward and slightly mischievous 13-year-old girl, admitting she was the perfect target for the predatory couple. She told them, "You stole my childhood innocence and warped my mind, leaving me permanently damaged and unable to build normal, healthy connections with people." Next, at number 24, is Suge Knight. As the notorious co-founder of Death Row Records, Knight was the muscle and money behind the West Coast hip-hop explosion that defined the music scene of the 1990s. His shadow loomed large over the entire entertainment industry, far beyond just the charts. However, his legacy is forever stained by a history of violence that eventually destroyed his life. Everything came crashing down while he was visiting the production set for the NWA biopic Straight Outta Compton, where Knight spiraled into a confrontation that would seal his fate. The situation turned deadly when he got into a heated dispute involving Terry Carter and Clee Bone Sloan, leading Knight to lash out in a moment of pure rage. Witnesses watched in horror as he allegedly used his massive pickup truck as a weapon, running over both men during the chaotic altercation in the parking lot. The aftermath was catastrophic. Carter died from his injuries while Sloan was left severely mangled, leading prosecutors to slap the rap mogul with heavy charges of murder and attempted murder. Facing life behind bars, his legal team managed to cut a plea bargain, allowing him to plead no contest to voluntary manslaughter, a conviction that carried a lighter penalty than first-degree murder. In 2018, the judge handed down a stiff sentence of 28 years, meaning this fallen industry giant won't be eligible for parole until the year 2034. It marks a brutal end to the career of a man who once ruled the streets. Moving to number 25, let's talk about the domestic diva herself, Martha Stewart. It sounds crazy, but the woman who taught America how to bake the perfect pie actually did hard time in federal prison, shocking her fans back in 2001. She found herself in the crosshairs of a massive insider trading investigation involving a biotech firm known as Imclone Systems, sparking a media frenzy. Suspicion arose when she dumped her shares in the company right before the stock value crashed, and prosecutors accused her of lying about her reasons for the timely sale. It turned out the cover-up was worse than the crime. After a sensational trial in 2004, the jury convicted her of conspiracy obstruction of justice and making false statements. She was sentenced to 5 months in a federal correctional facility, swapping her luxury estate in the Hamptons for a concrete cell in a prison uniform. Even while incarcerated, she stayed productive, reportedly organizing a book club for the other inmates and maintaining her dignity throughout the humiliating ordeal. Once she was released, she didn't hide in shame. Instead, she launched one of the greatest comebacks in history, proving that a criminal record couldn't destroy her billion-dollar brand. So, when you see her cooking up a storm, remember she is a tough ex-convict who survived the system. To uncover more shocking celebrity secrets, make sure to subscribe to Legacy Unmasked. The glitz and glamour often hide the darkest truths, and we are here to expose them all. To keep up with every twist and turn in the lives of these Hollywood figures, do not forget